Well, hello there. My name is Dave Bila. I want to welcome you to this new edition of News and Views broadcast by Access LaPorte County on Public Access TV Channel 99. We are a weekly public opinion program addressing local, state, and national topics and issues of interest to the Michigan City and surrounding areas. Opinions are the views and the responsibilities of those making comments and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of this program or its co-producers. We will adhere to broadcast rules, but absolutely no one's First Amendment rights of freedom of speech or freedom of the press will be either muzzled nor denied. Any unauthorized use of the accounts, descriptions, and events of this program without the express written consent of Larry Curly or Schmo is strictly prohibited. We hope you enjoy the program, the discussion, and the participants. Since the beginning of this program, ladies and gentlemen, 13 or 14 years ago, I always carried in my briefcase here the Constitution of the United States of America. And the First Amendment says, Constitution shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress or grievances. We all have a right to speak our piece. This issue supports us. It also supports the airwaves. And if violations occur within these airwaves, it's not the government's problem. It's the owners of the programming that provide media exposure on these airwaves to resolve the problem, to fire people, to hire people, to do whatever. The airwaves are owned basically by us. And you have a license, and you have a license, and you subscribe, and there are certain responsibilities that you have to adhere to. This issue that's going on with ABC and Disney and another individual, and the outcome is in question. But that's between him and his employer and whatever. The question is, was his freedom of speech violated? I don't think so. He said what he wanted to say, and now he's suffering the consequences. Gentlemen?
We get his megaphone taken away from him. You can say what you want. You can go out to the street corner and say what you want.
That's correct.
Doesn't mean the corporation has to give you the megaphone.
That's correct.
Well, you really can't go out on the street corner and say anything you want. There are some limitations on that. That's where you get into a law that goes back to, or a right that goes back to, you can't go into a theater and scream fire, because you cannot incite a riot. You do not have the right to incite a riot. Something that would do significant damage to...
Which infringes upon somebody else's freedom.
Correct, absolutely.
Yeah, you do not have
but
that
in
right.
this case, what you have, and I don't know which one you're talking about, but Stephen Colbert is really a question of contractual rights. And was there a breach of contract? Now in this case, because this will never get to freedom of speech, I don't think, unless somebody wants to go, that could go down in the law books. But Stephen Colbert was really a question of, did he breach a contract? Now, if he breached a contract, but it doesn't look like he did, then he could be in some serious trouble. But it looks like there's an agreement between Stephen Colbert and, in this case, I believe he was...
With CBS.
CBS. Mm-hmm. So, as a result, he will finish up his contract, which is what he's allowed to do. And after that, they will not renew his contract. And he is free to negotiate with any other networks.
He can become a free agent.
Yeah, yeah. He's free to negotiate with any of the other networks and get the best deal he can, or he can retire, or he can do something else. But that's different from a employer-employee situation. Now, when we go to Jimmy Fallon, it's never been said whether he has a contract or not.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel, I'm sorry. Why did I say Jimmy Kimmel? Jimmy Kimmel.
Too many net hosts.
It has never been said whether he has a contract or not. Now, if he has a contract, then the situation will fall under contractual arrangements and what is said in that contract. If he doesn't, then it's going to fall under the employee-employer relationship. So there, one of the things that you would be looking at, and I think ABC would be looking at, is did he do damage? Or was it an attempt to do damage with intent to ABC and their television stations that fall underneath them? This could be a long, drawn-out situation, but I have a feeling he probably had a contract, but it's never been announced, so I don't know that. And then the question would be, was there a breach of that contract? Period.
Yeah, there should be, in any,
You look bored.
in any,
There's so many issues here.
in any contractual, obligation between employer and employee, there are certain parameters that you must follow.
Yeah.
That's written in my, I don't write contracts, but I would think that would be,
Right.
these are your guidelines. You follow them.
Right, but under the Fair Labor Standards Act, if it's an employee or employer relationship, there are also certain things that are involved in that relationship, and that cannot be violated.
But if you work for somebody and you jeopardize the relationship between your boss and his people who buy advertising, and if you violate that particular issue, you're SOL, buddy.
There's so many issues, and I think what I was thinking is that we have a case right now in the Supreme Court, which is the crux of all these discussions, going to go to the Supreme Court, I believe, a couple of weeks. It is the Fed board member, Cook.
Yeah,
They have petitioned that to the Supreme Court, whether the president has the right to get rid of her for cause. And I say the word cause, that is the crux of everything we are discussing. Does the owner or the boss have the right to get rid of you for cause? What that cause is varies immensely.
yeah.
But I think Jimmy Kimmel, he has come, if you look at his past and what shows he has done before, I remember some shows back in the 90s that were pretty derogatory that he did.
Mm-hmm.
And he's this host, and he's doing different kind of thing with probably contractual. And he said some things that I think he considered were helpful to his audience. I don't think he would have done it if he didn't, because I don't think he would have just done it because he was mad. I think he did it because he thought it pandered to his audience. So that's who he probably thought his audience. But his employer says, no, that's not who we think our audience is. You went a direction we don't think you should have gone. And that's between him and his employer. I think that I am assured, I was just reading an article about it, that there are attorneys in his boss's office before they did this. They didn't just get mad and like,
both sides.
did you hear what Jimmy Kimmel said? He's gone. No, they got their attorneys together in the boardroom. They probably looked at his contract and said,
you compile evidence over a long period of time.
That's exactly where I was going next, because we got Bob here. Mostly, I would say a very high majority of these cases, and I don't care if it's Trump or the regular guy in the street or a personal injury, it's all about getting evidence put into the record.
Yeah,
I got a question about, you passed the bar, am I correct?
yeah. First time I took it.
Did you ever practice, were you actually physically an attorney?
Yeah, I did.
For a year or
most
two,
of it.
or-
No, not for years, but I did pro bono stuff. But I did it because I was teaching it at Purdue Calumet.
Really?
Yeah, masters. Well, we had a Masters of Accountancy program at Purdue Calumet. That was the only one between the Illinois line and Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame also had a Masters of Accountancy program, but a lot of accountants at the top, accounting and in business law, accounting and business law start to merge. And so what I was doing was teaching the business law aspect in some of these advanced accounting classes.
So in that gray matter sitting over there,
I'm old and slow. Go ahead.
But in that gray matter, you do have knowledge. So this guy isn't a fluke.
So Jimmy Kimmel and Colbert, in every case, and this is where Bob comes in, they are trying to put evidence, an evidentiary hearing,
Yeah.
into their case. Whether they go for the First Amendment or the Supreme Court, wherever, their first goal is to put evidence into the docket, and probably not going to get their contract back, but probably get them a settlement, because there's things in here that they don't want to drag out and put in mud in the public. So they will probably go down the route, hire some high-profile attorneys. They'll get paid a percentage, and try to do, what do they call it when you ask for evidence?
Discovery?
Discovery. They will try to get discovery, and once you get to that point, they will decide, the corporation will decide if they want to air their dirty laundry. And that is a great tactic.
Yeah, but I'm going to follow it up with something else. And I don't know the gist of this case, but there is apparently a case coming out of Ball State University in Muncie where they fired one of their, I understand it was one of their professors, for disparaging remarks she made about Kirk, names keep coming, Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk.
And as a result of that, she has filed a case. Now, obviously, she has lawyers to do that in the district court in Muncie. And this thing, if they decide they want to go for the free speech argument, this case could go a long way.
It'll cost a lot of money, and it could go very high.
Well, she's going to have donations, but I think she'd get them.
Yeah, the free speech. And there's another side of the equation. If you're going to try to argue free speech, beyond the evidence you're hearing discovery, if you're going to try to argue free speech, you've got a lot of money, including probably the ACLU, who's willing to at least look at it and maybe take it up with you because they got money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, and you could go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. And I think what everyone is waiting for, tangentially, is what happens with Trump versus Cook and firing for cause.
Except in the state of Indiana, where they're going to be very interested in this case because it's a state school, Ball State University, which would have ramifications throughout the university system in the state of Indiana, basically the public university system.
The last line in the First Amendment, to petition the government for a redress of grievance.
Pretty wide open.
Yeah, you can petition for anything.
Same.
That doesn't mean they have to answer.
So that way, this
It just
issue
means you can petition.
an issue could
Yeah.
go all the way up to the Supreme Court.
And we want to bring in grievance. Before I go to that, there was, I can't remember, there was a pastor who was at St. Mary's, and now I believe he's in Chesterton, Father Matt. And he did a sermon, and he started bringing up some things that I thought was very brilliant, because if you look at the Constitution, it says we hold these truths to be self-evident. If you take the one word hold and focus on that, if you try to hold something for any given amount of time, it takes effort.
Yeah.
It takes strength. It takes patience. It takes everything to hold that. Freedom is not free. We've heard that a lot of times. You have to hold these truths to be self-evident. It means you have to put energy holding them to be true. It's just not a given that it's going to happen. But when you talk about evidentiary procedures and what's going to happen in the state, we're going to go right back to what Bob started with. This professor assuredly had a contract.
Yeah.
And the attorneys for the school will argue, we're not going to talk free speech. We're talking about contracts.
And what's in the big thing is
The written
what is
word.
the contact? What is inside that contract? Because that's what you signed for.
And again, I was involved with an issue with the Indiana Gaming Commission that I specifically read the contract to these individuals. And in the first few lines, I was being accused of verbiage that was within that contract that allowed me an opportunity to do what I did. And I went to court and I won. And I put, again, I wish I could go back 50 or 60 years, but we didn't have the money at the time to pursue higher academics. We didn't.
Well, most people don't.
Yeah, and
You've got to have some wealth behind you.
yeah, and I'm from the school of hard knocks. But the common denominator between the school of hard knocks and reality is the written word, and define the written word.
And that's the beauty of America. I've been to court many times, very different things. And the beauty of America is you go to court, and a person of hard knocks is usually underestimated when the attorneys get there, because You can go to a jury of your peers. And that jury of your peers is probably going to look more kindly on the hard knocks person. They're going to look at the attorney as sitting there in a $1,000 suit.
Yeah, three-piece suit, yeah.
And the regular people like us who have to defend ourselves, if we go to a jury of our peers, they're going to reflect on them with us that they could be them that somebody's attacking, and they haven't been to school, they're not rich.
Yeah, to give individuals, Bob gave me a phone call a couple days ago about what should we discuss on this particular program. And again, I'm sitting in my lazy boy watching what's going on. And
your wife lets you get away with that. That amazes me.
I'll give you an example.
Good life.
She's got it. She had a card party.
How did you find her?
Let me here. Her friends they were playing pinochle today, and they're in the kitchen. And at 10:30, I sat down on my lazy boy in front of the TV, and I slept until 1:30 while her card party was going on. You know.
That's amazing.
But when
you have my congratulations.
Yeah, but when I woke up, the first thing I had 3 cues in my mind because I had to see
what they did.
What they did, gentlemen. That was the extent
I
of.
think what we need to discuss is: do we want to go down the road of discussing freedom of speech, or do we want to go to another topic?
Well, that's up to you guys. I'm here as an observer today because
Well, let me throw this out and let's see where it goes. I have to say that right now, with the development going on in Michigan City, I feel pretty good. This is the best situation we have had, I'm going to tell you, since Pullman left in 1970. And it has been basically a downhill trek ever since. When you take a look at the new South Shore Station, they just keep adding story after story. And I'm not sure if Tony might know this off the top. Is this going to be an 8-story building or a 10-story building?
I thought it was 12.
I
Maybe
thought it was
it's
8.
12.
I thought it was 8.
I've heard 12 also.
Yeah.
I've heard 10 and I've heard 8.
Yeah.
So Tony, he's the engineer.
I haven't followed. I heard
They just keep adding to it. Somebody's going to have to rent or buy these apartments depending on which way they go. But if they can sell them, it's going to be great for the downtown in Michigan City. You're going to create an awful lot of retail traffic down there. Now, the next thing that's happening, of course, is the data center that's going up with the Phoenix Partners. And it keeps growing and it keeps getting bigger, and it's going to pay a lot of property taxes, and it's going to be a huge positive for Michigan City. And if you go out off Paz Road, they continue to build those houses. They started at $299,000. Well, it said $299,000 and up, and now it's saying $300,000 plus. I'm not sure what that means, but Tony and Dave will be able to buy one, so they'll take care of
maybe
that.
2. And the good thing about this, and I hope, and kudos to Clarence Hulse for getting us a data center and getting that through. But everyone around us, I believe Wheeler has decided, and Porter County has said no. I believe St. Joe County just said no to, I think, something that was twice or 3 times as big as Amazon. They said no. I think Michigan City, with all the ground we just annexed over by the airport and all that area, I think maybe that would fit. What, a $20 billion data center? It's right by 94. I live pretty close to 94. Who wants to live by 94? It's loud, it's noisy. And maybe that'd be a good spot for a data center. And we could jump on something that everyone else has said no, and it's billions of dollars now.
And welcome them with open arms.
And now Hobart just passed their budget, and we talked about this before. The mayor of Hobart took a lot of grief about the data center in his town. And they were very upset. And they were very upset again at every step along the way. They've been upset. The individuals have been upset. But he stayed the course. And he said we needed the money. I think he was going to be 2 or 3 million short every year. And he has a data center. And they just passed their budget. And they gave their employees 2% raises because he got the data center to pay tax revenue. And it needs very little services. Either way, whatever your thought is, data center, they are the tax revenue generator to give services to the public. They don't ask for fire, police, school.
They've already got it.
They've got it inside their place. And some people have been talking to me about this, and their first comment that I think is not a good discussion point is they're going to use water. No, these are closed loop systems. They're going to fill up their pond, and they're going to keep looping it and use it and cooling it. The only discussion that I have, which I brought concern for Michigan City, is the noise. We cannot allow them to make a droning noise when these cooling fans turn on and turn off and they run 24 hours. That cannot be allowed. And I think they will make sure that doesn't. There are simple solutions. If we all drive down the Borman going to Chicago, they got those big beige walls. And I've been surveying inside and outside 94. If you stand on the side of 94 traffic, it's deafening. You walk to the other side of the wall, it's silent. Things can be fixed.
One of the miscellaneous things about the data center is that individuals who drive to this data center through their vehicle, if it's a gas-driven vehicle, have to buy gas. They buy gas at the local gas station. The local gas station, a portion of that fund goes into the MVH fund that repairs our roads. And that small little minuscule thing of an individual driving to work, whether it's 30 or whether it's 300, whether it's ancillary businesses doing work, they are contributing to the repair of the streets, which has a direct impact on a motor vehicle highway funds that are made available to fix the streets and make things valuable. This is just the beginning. And this thing is going to domino out and domino out and domino out. It's going to be an economic windfall for the community. It's taken me time to realize, again, I've taken a new attitude as well. But my initial concept of Michigan City doing absolutely nothing for the last 40 years, I'll never let that go. But things are changing, and so am I.
And the data center, like it or not, is the tax revenue generated from that piece of property. What was it? $1 million a year or something?
$22,000 a year, taxes.
So yeah, they're generating nothing right now, and they're going to generate an immense amount of taxes that when Bob started, I thought, he's right. I'm not as wise as you and been around as long as you, but I don't remember another operation or facility or enhancement in Michigan City like the data center in my whole life. I remember Pullman left. The people down in Ohio, Liston Brown but Brown Excavating has gone down to hardly anything. They don't do anything anymore.
It was Lenny Brown, I believe his name was Lenny Brown.
And the people out there that made Sanzabel, gone. J.M.R. Ruby. Now we had people, Hitachi has bought Solaire, so they have come. We have a couple other small things that have come in our area, but nothing.
Like this.
Nothing like this. I don't know what else. What else could we bring to town that would not require services, pay us a bunch of tax revenue, and we need our roads, but not beat them up with deliveries of whatever, high, expensive, heavy steel in and out through this place?
Well, the only thing, and this is such a non-apples to oranges type deal, the only thing you can compare it to was Haskell and Barker at their peak, and at their peak, they had 5,000 people employed there. They had their own fire department. They had a number of things that they did on their own. That was a huge positive because of the salaries and the wages that they input into Michigan City, and one of the things that caused us to grow, but that's long gone.
Well, the whole industry
in modern era, this has been the best thing that's happened in Michigan City.
I think the only thing we have left, which I've said many times before, is if we have some sort of facilities that repair robots or vehicles and use robots and AI, that would help us a lot, but that takes skill, very skilled
That's where we got to start, and this is one of the things that I consider to be a problem. There's two of them, but you guys go ahead and then I'll talk about my two problem areas.
No, you're inferring the educational process. That's what.
I'm not inferring anything.
If we don't have a established educational process to expose these kids to what the future is going to bring,
you've got to go a lot farther than that. You guys can trump me if you think I'm wrong, but we've actually got to set goals and objectives for kids anywhere from the first grade through the 12th grade, that they will be up to standards that are developed by the Indiana High School Associations for schools, and they will meet those standards. Now, if they don't, then they have to go to summer school and or Saturday classes. We have to find teachers to teach those classes. And the one I started a long time ago to talk about the situation in Mississippi, finally we started to get some information on it. man, they went to a lot of work. They went from like 49th to the upper half. But they did it through training teachers to train these kids to be able to handle the types of testing that they're going to have to go through and to have the knowledge to be able to go through those tests. It's just not handling the test, it's having the knowledge to go through those tests. We have got to get this school system on board with setting up programs that they can turn out people who can pass these exams.
And you look at what Linda McMahon is doing as far as the Federal Department of Education by eliminating it and taking their expertise back to the specific states to implement.
Yeah.
Again, that's where it's all about. Each individual state will then basically have a 99% input into, into the educational process. Basically, it amounts to taking a new attitude. Okay?
Well, it not only a new attitude, it's a resolve to do the job.
Correct. Yeah, and again, it's I'm beating that baby to death, but take a new attitude, feel good about yourself, and so on and so on and so on. And that's the only way to establish change, create change, implement change. Because if everybody is satisfied, again, living off the trough for the last 40 years, then for the next 40 years, that's going to be status quo. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, status quo means we will not accept letting these students fall behind.
That is correct.
That's not an acceptable path.
And it takes, whether it's a one-parent family or a two-parent family, it takes some parental involvement in helping the kids pursue an academic career. If the parents don't have the academic background, well, maybe they could look around and maybe ask a grandma that might be able to help.
Who came out of the Depression and understands the need
that is correct.
for education.
That is correct. And basically, that's how we were brought up.
Yeah.
That's how we were brought up, because back in the 30s and the 40s, money wasn't plentiful.
Well, let me get my second concern out there, and that's with the prison situation. Let me go back in history a little bit. That prison was actually built in about the 1860s by the federal government. It was a federal prison to house Confederate soldiers. Now, we're a long way from that.
We hope.
Okay. But anyway, somewhere after the federal government decided they didn't need that prison anymore, they gave it to the state. And the state gave Terre Haute and Michigan City was first, the opportunity to have their choice between that prison and Indiana State University. Well, Michigan City decided they wanted the prison. It's still here. And we don't have Indiana State University, but we are growing in terms of colleges, because we do have IU Northwest holding classes here, and we have a couple of other colleges that are also holding classes.
And Ivy Tech's expanding.
Yeah. But my concern is that they will have approximately, if this deal goes through with the state and the federal government, about 1,000 prisoners. Now, these are people that probably are going to be at some point deported, but many of them will belong to gangs, MS-13, and a number of other really deadly gangs. I'm not sure that our prison guards have been trained to handle this type of situation, which means that if they're going to force us to do this, we need to, start, which we did, the mayor and the city council saying we don't want this, but if they're going to stick it down our throats, then we've got to start to say, look, you've got to have trained people to run this prison. We don't have those people. And also, officers who can handle the physical situation that they potentially will be put in. And that's another thing that we need to start to think about in how we're going to handle that. Now, negotiations. Now Michigan City's also got to get something for this economically. Now, maybe it has to do with a hotel or some type of a building in the prison area when that prison is finally done away with, so that the state, as a result of having these kinds of facilities, will bring people into Michigan City, which is very close by, to stay in a hotel or in some type of cottages, however they want to do it, and take advantage of the Lakeshore National Park, the Indiana Dunes State Park, and the facilities available in Michigan City. Another thing we need is another marina. We got to get a marina that is in front of going out to the lake the Washington Park Bridge or the Colfax Bridge, whichever you want to call it, and having it go up and down sometimes for people who only want to raise their radio towers and not put them down. But we've got to get that, I think, a next marina to keep our activities going in terms of having boats into our marina, people coming from out of town, using those marinas and spending money here in Michigan City.
I just had a thought, Bob. Okay, there's been some conversation at the county level for considering a new location for the LaPorte County Jail. Okay?
No!
They are basically talking about the present facility is now on a downturn. It's on a downslide.
It's costing more money than it is to build new.
Yeah.
Again, this is a far-fetched thought, but look what we have on the west side. We've got the Indiana State Prison.
That's got to change, but go ahead.
Adjacent to the Indiana State Prison is Lakeside Correctional.
Yeah.
Okay? Maybe the new location for LaPorte County Jail would be on Woodlawn Ave, and it would consist of the area that encompasses LaPorte County Correctional.
Why don't you talk to your wife about that, though?
No way, Jose.
I agree.
I think we have to look.
But if we don't have the funds,
LaPorte County owns their own ground. South County, they put it out there.
Do they?
It shouldn't be in town. I don't think they should.
Well, that's a good point as well.
Anywhere near
Yeah.
town.
Yeah.
I think you always look at election ahead or 2 or 3 elections ahead. Very few people, let alone politicians, can do that. And I think the huge downside of what they think they're going to do at the prison, now that they say they're not going to give it to us, and they're going to put hundreds, if not
Up to
1,000
New beds.
bad people, very bad people. 4 years, 3 years from now, could be a new president. And if we know in history what happened, how we got here, where we're rounding up immigrants and trying to send them back, from the previous president that lots of immigrants came in, will the next president change the app that is now turn yourself in, will leave the country, back to you can log in the app, and when you have a court case, we'll get to you and you can show up for court with these bad people that they have trucked into Michigan City who are now hanging around Michigan City.
And they're going to be coming out of Chicago.
And their families will be coming and follow them and so on and
Because
so on.
they
and so on.
brought them here, and if it's a new president who thinks differently, stops enforcing immigration and lets them go out and wait until they have a court date, which could be years or decades out, they're now in Michigan City. Where do you think they're just going to get out of the prison and, hey, we gave us a court date, where are we going to go? I don't know, look around. Well, we're in Michigan City.
Yeah, what was the rationale for the state taking the property back from Michigan City? What was the
Michigan
reason?
City better be looking at 4 years from now if they seem to change their mind and give them the CBP app and let them wait for their court date and release them. They better be ready for 1,000 potentially bad people
Yeah.
walking out of this prison. What are we going to do?
Yeah, that's once
Could you
Westville is.
imagine
Once
the
Westville is
tsunami
open,
of crime?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to have to start with training the guards for that prison.
Good training up. No, they're going to let them out.
Well,
It's a new president. We're not enforcing immigration.
Some of them are not going to get out. There's going to be a few that are going to be there, and they're going to be the worst of the worst. So you've got to think now, how do we train these people to take care of this? But better yet, how do we stop this?
Yeah, I agree, 100%. That's where I'm going. How does Michigan City use all its might to not put these people in this prison right next to our town? There are plenty of other prisons. You could drive down the interstates, drive down 30, drive down 31, drive out 65, anywhere you go. The federal prisons are out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and that's where they should.
And that's where they should be. You don't put them next to Michigan City. I wouldn't even put them in Westville.
Well,
Put them at Grissom, the prison by Grissom.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not here.
Didn't the Michigan City Council adopt a resolution requesting to give back to the city of Michigan City the
Yeah, they
property?
did. I mean,
they
yeah,
The
adopted.
governor signed it.
Yeah.
Previous governor.
Yeah, but this is the. It was just recently passed a new resolution that the city wants it back.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how far it's going. The city's going to have to really do some tough negotiations with the governor and the Economic Development Commission from the state of Indiana to get this out of here.
Your first problem is not let them put them here. This is not a place for them
No. Well,
in any way.
no area that's developed like ours is a place for this.
No.
This has to be out, like in Florida, where they put it in the Everglades.
Yeah, at an airport in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Fly them in and fly them
Or the
out.
prison down by Grissom, or
And
any
if
prison in southern Indiana, or
And just,
wherever they are.
just like Alcatraz, if you can break out of here, good luck. We're not going to follow you.
You know, I read an interesting thing about the Army Corps of Engineers relocating the sand from one side of Mount Baldy back into Michigan City.
We know why. Because Mount Baldy keeps moving and
I
it's
know it,
moving
but
over the highway.
how are they going to do that gigantic mass of sand? What gigantic conveyor belts?
Yeah, it's pretty simple though. You run a conveyor belt and it runs 24 hours a day. It moves that kind of sand. It's pretty simple.
Really?
It is a complete and utter waste of money. Sorry, the Army Corps does some good things and they do some very silly things because somehow they think they can fight Mother Nature. Somehow they think they can overrun Mother Nature, and every time they are proven wrong and they fail. Mount Baldy has an innate problem because we have the pier. When that pier was not there 100 years ago,
He's talking about the East Pier.
the East Pier, the one we love with the beautiful White House, when that pier wasn't there, that sand moved across Trail Creek in Lake Michigan and lost its velocity and piled up at NIPSCO, which
Yeah.
was the Hoosier Slide. That sand is Mother Nature's way of feeding the front end of the dune so the wind doesn't push it over the side and keep pushing the dune, 7 feet a
Yeah.
year south?
Yeah.
And so move the sand, Mother Nature's going to keep moving it against you. She works 24 hours a day, and there's no sand to feed the front end of the dune to stop the back end from moving. And IU did a study on this. And I don't know how to tell people, and we love the pier, and we love the lighthouse. It's causing Mount Baldy to move 7 feet a year.
So basically, the public and their engineering prowess back then
Yes.
created the problem.
And they did. They made this, and that's why we have a beautiful beach in Washington Park, because that was not the beach, right?
No, it was West Beach was the big
West Beach was the beach, because as the sand came down, it hit the outflow of Trail Creek, lost its velocity, piled up on the bank, and that's why if you go to, I never knew this as a kid, when you go out to Mount Baldy and you walk in the water, it's all pebbles. The sand is not there anymore. The sand's up in Washington Park because we as humans ruined Mother Nature's normal cycle.
But with what the Army Corps of Engineers wants to accomplish is removing the sand from the south side to the north side.
So Mother Nature will blow it back again.
They will also possibly uncover a hidden part of Michigan City that needs to be covered up by the sand, and that was the red light district that used to reside in that area. Think about
You're
it.
really in trouble with your wife.
But think about it. Think about it. One compounds another compounds another.
Now letting Mother Nature do what she did before we put the lighthouse in, ruins Washington Park. The beach is gone. And that's a beautiful beach. We don't have hundreds of feet of sand anymore because Mother Nature feeds it naturally from Lake Michigan.
But let me also talk a little bit about the reasoning for this. That lighthouse just wasn't built the way you see it today. It actually, from about the year 1870, 1880, maybe a little before that, has increased in size as the years went along. And as it increased in size, because they built more onto it or they got knocked down and they decided they'd put more onto it, most of the time it was wooden. It's only been since about the 1920s that it became cement.
But underneath, I believe, is still wood.
Well, they just left it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
If anyone wants to look under the pier or the lighthouse, you're going to find it's wood.
and they moved, but they can't move
Right.
it out.
And 100 years old.
As a result of that, the sand kept piling up. I can remember when I was a kid, if you go down to where there's a break that the pier turns north as opposed to headed east, and that was the point at one time where it stopped. So when I was a kid, we used to be able to fish up to that point. You can't today, it's all sand. It's moving north.
And Mother Nature will win this argument, maybe not in our lifetimes, but if you look underneath there and you have wood pilings, those are going to go away one day, and Mother Nature will take back her natural way going over to Mount Baldy.
Well, I
Unless
agree.
we try to interfere again.
I agree with Tony, but to this extent, Mother Nature will win, because if enough years go by, the sand will eventually pile up on the east side. And so as a result of that, having piled up that
Yes.
high on the east side,
It'll start working its way
It'll
back
start-
around
yeah, it'll
the
start-
government pier and start feeding Mount Baldy again.
and they'll take the government pier down.
So there you go. There's your answer, Dave. If
You just
if
have
the,
to live
if the
all the way.
Army Corps truly embraced what IU and what regular people know about the movement of sand in Lake Michigan, they would take the sand that's going over Mount Baldy and truck it over here on the east side of the pier to force the new sand
Yeah.
and let Mother Nature work for you. Mother Nature's not bad. Mother Nature will work for you if you let her. If you try to work against her, she will win every time.
Mother Nature is like dogs and cats. It does not understand time.
No, it doesn't. And long when we're all gone, that will change, and then things will normalize back with the Hoosier Slide area, which is NIPSCO, and hopefully it gets developed. A beautiful beach over there. The sand in the water, when you go off from Mount Baldy, will be sand again instead of pebbles. It's only pebbles because we're not feeding the sand anymore, and that lets Mount Baldy move so fast, so far south. Because if you look, I just looked at this. I don't remember where I was looking at it. I was looking at a GIS application, and they had the names of all the sand mounts all the way along Michigan. There's names for each one, and each they have like blowout or something. There's names for each one as it goes along, because it's been there since since the prehistoric age, when the glacier age, when things moved and Lake Michigan became a lake. Those dunes have been there, and they are going to do what they want unless we do something, which we have. Not just us. New Buffalo did it. Michigan City did it. Portage did it. They all made changes that Mother Nature is not going to accept.
I remember when I was a boy out there on the west side, you could see the clay layer underneath the dunes.
Yeah.
You could see the seashells and all of this big layer of clay, and then this mobile sand over the top of it. I remember, and it's still vivid in my mind, that pretty thick layer of clay
Yeah.
that supports basically Mount Baldy.
I grew up knowing Lake Michigan, Washington Park was not a quarter. I grew up and I was young enough to remember when you got to the end of the parking lot, there was 6-8 feet of water.
Yeah.
And people would dive off. There wasn't 300 foot of beach. And that has only grown in my lifetime, so 40 years. That has happened in 40 years. And I remember going to Mount Baldy and wondering why the bottom of the Mount Baldy, when I walk on the water, was all pebbles. It was horrible. Why wasn't it like over here in Washington Park, which is beautiful? Walk out as far as you can. Beautiful sand.
My dad and I, we used to seine minnows, that pier going out to the government pier. We used to, the water's edge was abutting.
You could see the minnows.
You could see the
swimming
minnows,
around.
and we had a.
They're not there anymore.
They're not there anymore. No.
Because aquatic life does not like sand. Aquatic life likes natural dirt and ground that has nutrients in it. Sand does not help aquatic life. And that used to be Washington Park.
It wasn't recently, was it the Army Corps that brought in some more limestone and put it on that pier that you were talking about, that angular pier?
They might have. Yeah, I mean,
That whole pier now has been elevated. I mean, it's been elevated with these gigantic rocks.
ultimately, you don't want that thing to collapse. So as a result of it, yeah, they're probably doing something.
So-
They know they got to get 20 years ahead of it.
Yeah, and they're going to fight it forever.
So maybe that's in conjunction with this moving the sandhill over,
I
maybe?
mean, I would hate to lose the pier and the lighthouse, but we know what the answer is. It's either, like Bob said, you fill the whole crescent up and let it go around the lighthouse and start feeding Hoosier Slide and Mount Baldy again. Or you raise up the pier and let Mother Nature flow it underneath there and feed underneath the pier. And we'll still have the lighthouse and the beautiful, because we know the timbers underneath there are probably not in good shape.
They've been there a long time.
100
On the
years.
other hand, some of that wood may be very valuable if they find that that it was able to withstand the water that long. That will be really tough, but very nice looking wood. That could be very valuable.
Yeah, some of those timbers that are in the ocean are being pulled out, or in natural waters, are being pulled out because they are immensely valuable.
You mean there could be teak logs?
Yes.
As pillars
Could be.
of strength?
Yeah, could be.
And it would take a concerted effort to help the Army Corps understand you could keep fighting this forever and lose, or you could solve the problem. Because we know what the problem is. IU did a study on it. They've released a report. You can read it. We know what the problem is, not just for us again. New Buffalo has the same problem on the backside of their wall with those houses are going in the water. They're losing theirs because there's no more sand to feed them. If you look in the past, I had to do some research on up at the state line. We were looking for the original corner of Indiana and Michigan. That dune was probably just as big as the Hoosier Slide. And we took that out for the war effort via train on the shore in the sand of Lake Michigan. So all that Long Beach, if you think a dune was big now, think 10, 20 times the size. That sand was hauled out.
I want to change the subject a little bit. What about SOLA? And if SOLA doesn't obtain the necessary finances, what's going to happen after December the 1st?
Well, there was an article in the paper. What did it say?
What's going to
I didn't read it. They said that they are moving forward with the development, right? It was just a couple days ago.
If they truly have J.W. Marriott behind them, J.W. Marriott has the ability
To
maybe
build a
just on
hotel.
their own, yes, to build a hotel.
Might not build.
The
condos.
Condos, yeah. So yeah, there will, I think, at least be a hotel. Now, whether,
Well, then that's a positive thing.
I
But,
agree.
but again, we have so many people that come into town. It's the Barnum and Bailey concept selling us a bag of worms.
Hey, we got the data center.
Well,
That wasn't a bag of worms.
I'm referring not referring
Yeah.
to data. I'm supportive of that factor. But we've got a lot of other individuals who sell the city of Michigan City the bill of goods over the last 40 or 50 years, and we buy it, and then it turns up.
We lap it up.
We lap it up. It also, that same concept applied to the Michigan City area schools prior to Dr. Watkins.
Watkins.
We would get anybody and everybody, Tom, Dick, and Harry, that would be a superintendent, and then they would capitalize and then they'd move on.
That went from Knapp and then Smith to Dr. Watkins.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think the hotel will be built.
Yeah.
I don't think the condos might not be built.
Well,
Interest rates are going down.
whoa. Yeah, you're right. Rates
Maybe.
are going down. I was going to say
Maybe.
that. But it may be that J.W. Marriott builds that hotel and then decides, because I know they've got some condo businesses, they might want in the condo business. But they're going to build the hotel first.
That's an option. Yeah, they could utilize their financial strength to support the other concept.
But I think they'll build the hotel first and they'll wait 5-6 years to see what happens.
Yeah, see if the hotel makes money, which I agree it will. It will make a lot of money.
Oh, it's going to make a lot of money for the north end of Michigan City.
Yes, it's going to do well.
Maybe there's some signs that I thought I would never see. We have a carryout facility and a drive-through facility for sushi. I looked at that and I couldn't believe it. You can actually get sushi on a drive-through basis or on a carry-out basis.
Like B&K root beer stand or something?
Yeah. Well, no, it's a little above the B&K root beer stand, but it's on Washington Street. I looked at that.
And where?
Yeah.
Where?
It's on Washington Street. It's the old, it was a diner, not a diner, it was a big drive-through at one time. They took it over and now they've got sushi. I'm sure they got other stuff, but the sign says they got sushi.
Well, you look at, you drive around the city and you see activity not on every street corner, but you do see a physical, visible change in the area of Michigan City, which impresses me. But it's taken so long. Oh, the flock cameras. Have you? I read something about a flock camera.
There's lawsuits now.
There are lawsuits because this one individual was hit over, what is it, for a period of a month, he was hit 500 or 600 times with a flock picture. That flock cameras are now being questioned, as far as...
Was it legitimate or what happened?
Well, they're taking pictures of license plates.
Yeah.
And if you drive, I like to drive around town, so more than likely I've got a lot of hits on the flock.
Well, they got to be speeding or something.
No, you just drive. No, you just drive
They're
and they...
photographing everybody.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Those cameras are photographing every
Oh,
single
okay. Well,
person.
tell that to the audience.
Well,
Because most of us would have thought, I thought it was just for speeding.
No. Again, I consider myself a top dog in Michigan City because I drive the streets a lot, looking around, looking for stuff.
And read the articles.
Yeah.
They are not just photographing
No.
plates. And there, I believe in Kansas or somewhere, a sheriff was tracking his wife or his girlfriend
Oh, that's all.
illegally. This Flock is a private company
Mm-hmm.
that we as communities hire.
Mm-hmm.
What they do with their data, I think what has happened is the same thing that happened to the DNA people when they sold out in South Carolina. They took everyone's DNA. We are in a watershed moment where Flock, as a private company, has data that is very sensitive. And what controls are there on it? Right now, there's none. There's honor. Be very careful. And those people, I believe they're backed by the ACLU, and they're asking what, the Fourth Amendment?
Mm-hmm.
What rights do you have to track me and
And
photograph me?
It's the Fifth Amendment.
Or Fifth Amendment.
Yeah.
Track me, photograph me, database me. We know what happened when the election naysayers happened. They went and they paid private companies for cell phone data and tracked cell phones. Flock has a lot of sensitive data. They're a company that needs to grow. If they don't grow, are they going to start selling data? We have to be very careful here.
Yeah, and their rationale was, well, we only take pictures of license plates, and we don't.
It's not true.
It's not true. The information that they provide from that license plate picture has extenuating circumstances leading up to the license plate on the car. I mean, it involves a lot of information.
It's done very good things, tracking criminals and things.
Yep.
But at what cost? We are all being tracked
Yep.
in our cars. And not just your license plate. Don't think for 1 minute. It's just that camera just looks at the license plate.
No.
Anyone that tells you that, they're not telling you the truth.
And back where my shop is located on the west side, I just seen a camera. They just placed one right in front of my business. Then I seen another one by the bowling alley over here that's been sort of run over. Somebody.
The bowling alley on Michigan Boulevard?
The bowling alley on
Woodland?
Woodland Ave. One of the poles have been either backed into or
Yeah.
So
My initial reaction is it can do a lot of good, but it can do a lot of bad. And on that front, I can't believe the ACLU hasn't taken up the case that these cameras and shot spotters, because Chicago got rid of theirs, right? They're not just doing good for everybody. They are specifically in neighborhoods. And they are discriminating against those neighborhoods.
yeah, you did say they're supposed to detect gunfire, and there are other parameters. But I think for those additional parameters to put on this system, they charge the city more for.
I'm sure.
And if you go, all you gotta do is go down Ohio Street, go towards the hospital. If you look, you'll notice there's tenfold more cameras down by that neighborhood than there is over on Ohio North, or over by Ames Field, or over by Elston. I can't believe the ACLU is not screaming that you are doing something to neighborhoods you're not doing to every neighborhood.
I think we had a good program today, addressing issues and topics of interest to surrounding population.
And certainly we hit the national scene.
Yeah.
But sometime we can reserve maybe 15 minutes to talk about the issue of free speech.
You have to give Bob the issue because we are here.
Okay.
The orchards are ready.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to spend the whole hour. That'll
No,
bore
but
our
you got
audience
some
like
minutes
crazy.
here. The orchards are out. Good
Oh,
times,
okay.
right?
Well, all right. Yeah, go out and first of all get a copy. I don't have it with me of the LaPorte County 2025 listing of all the orchards and what's available. They have their phone numbers in there. Call them up and find out if they've got what you're looking for. But now is the time. Between now and the first frost, you're going to have all sorts
Oh, yeah.
of vegetables.
Good times.
And I've had inroads with Kevin McGuire, but I was waiting until he obtained his financing from the Redevelopment Commission.
I was hoping for an update.
Kevin wants to come on, but I'm just waiting until he is really comfortable in pursuing what
We
he
got
wants.
Jim Musial that wants to come on too.
Jim does?
Yeah.
Well, you know, Jim's retiring.
I know, but I think he'd like to come on before he retires.
Well, that's good as well. So again, that was brought to my attention that maybe we ought to bring a guest or two back on because maybe people are tired of watching us blabber. I don't know. How much time? Where are we down to? We got 2 minutes yet, Bob. Well, you talked about your apple cider, Tony. What can you talk about? Of
Get
interest?
ready. There's things going on. LaPorte County is doing a plan commission meeting next Tuesday about solar. So if you like land rights or you don't like solar,
Well,
speak
that's been kicked down the road. What, 7 or 8 times so far?
Speak your piece.
Yeah.
Now's your time. This is public time to talk about. Just like they spent 4 hours in data. Now's your time to speak your piece.
Yeah, I believe I watched the meeting, Redevelopment Commission meeting, and they said, yeah, what was it, 7 or 8 times we've discussed it to prolong it?
Oh, it's been going on for at least 3 years because things are changing. Just like I talked with data, things are changing that the municipality needs to get ahead of to protect its citizens without denying the actual investment and the improvements.
My only comment would be they're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on this solar stuff, or on the solar stuff. And what's going to happen is these small nuclear facilities will take it over, and as a result of that, those solar
Well, didn't Trump sign an agreement with Europe to put in new nuclear sites, these portable nuclear sites in Europe?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Which maybe that'd be a trial ground for that concept to be applied here in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's
There you go. 1 minute.
1 minute to go. I want to thank everybody for watching. Your input as to improvement or criticism of this program is greatly appreciated. Please contact show's co-producers Bob Pollock, Dave Bila, or Tony Hendricks with your comments. You can email Bob at skrpollock@gmail.com, Dave at djbila1@hotmail.com, or Tony at emailagm@yahoo.com, or you may direct your ideas for any future shows to our One and Healthy staff writer, Sarah Bellum. Showing of our program will be Saturday morning at 10 a.m., also Monday and Thursday evening at 7 p.m. on Channel 99. You may also watch us on our YouTube channel, Navigate News and Views. But what I have done is I would put 99 Navigate News and Views.
Shows right up.
And it takes you right to that point. If you just put Navigate News and Views, it sends you to a bunch of navigational points that are really unrelated to our program. I want to thank everybody for watching, and make it a good day.